So Christopher Nolan once said,
You just want to go with that quote. It's perfect. Say it. Say it, Frank.
He once said, people want to go on this journey with us, so let's give them a reason to believe. And you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. Justin and I have enjoyed this journey called the Odyssey, and we're so excited that we're doing part 2 of that today with none other than one of our favorite guest hosts, Wes Clark. So without further ado, this is Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, part 2, with our guest, Wes. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Happy to talk about The Odyssey and Nolan, of course. So
I can't wait to hear the blowback from saying one of our favorites. So now someone we've had on the show now is to say, okay, so now who's on the list of favorites, Frank?
Listen,
now you set that out there.
We had one of the best bonus episodes where Justin talked about Biff Tannen. I don't know why. So I do think he brought out the best in you. So I will stick to that. I'll stick to that. But no, we're excited to continue, right? So this is season 4. This is the ancient world, and we're gearing up. We're getting all the way to the Odyssey, which is where we are right now. We started last week where we talked about the movie just in total, Justin and I's hot takes, how we felt about it. This week, we thought we'd bring Wes along just to talk more behind the scenes, more directorial kind of takes, which, to be fair, we're not qualified to sit in the same table as Nolan, but we're just like at the corners, just picking up the scraps, just talking through with it, just seeing where everything lands. But we thought, why not bring someone who does this for a living, but also does it with an eye, in the eye, to kind of see like all the different takes you can do, even though we're doing something that's been mass produced and probably the first, right? Filming full IMAX, going all out. But we just thought, let's give it a hot take. Let's see how that rolls. So that's where we are. So we're going to talk about that. And then next week, we will bring everything back together where we're talking about Homer's The Iliad and the Odyssey, comparing it to the Odyssey with our guest host, Janelle. So, Justin.
I mean, I was going to say, I know I can't sit at the same table as Christopher Nolan, but of the 3 of us, I am the furthest away or the least qualified. And then it's Frank, because he's at least dabbled in the realm of film and in the arts. So, Wes, you are our professional today. You're the closest we got.
No pressure.
It's all
No
you,
pressure.
baby.
yeah, I'm not sure I'm getting that close. I've worked with some people who are real close to him, so I'm in the world. I know the people who are in the game, but that's about as close as I get, is knowing people. So,
I'm excited to hear your takes just on how the movie was done, how it was filmed, what your thoughts were from that realm. You're gonna have a lot better insight than I am by being like,
sure.
It was really cool when he did this, and that's about all I got.
Yes. No, I have plenty of thoughts, and honestly, the movie, it's a good ecosystem to talk about a lot of other aspects of the industry at the moment. So honestly, good movie to discuss, but probably the best movie of the summer in terms of worth discussing. So certainly there.
Well, before we hit that, let's just do a quick, brief hot take on you, where you sit, what you've done, so that folks who are listening or hearing can get a brief understanding. And then I think Justin's right. Like, I kind of want to, like you said, this is a movie that's worth discussing, just from like your point of view, being in the business, like knowing that this movie is coming out, just your general thoughts about it, and then your hot takes after.
Yeah. So I'm Wes Clark, writer, director. My first movie was How to Start a Cult in 5 Easy Steps. I shot it 2 days after graduating from college. That now signed with indie rights and is on Amazon. Go rent it, people, please. And then about a year after that, I went and shot The Psychic Files, which is my second movie. That was picked up immediately. So actually, we weren't even able to submit to festivals. We were signed so quickly, and the distributor didn't want to even waste the time to wait. So that comes out in August. So very excited about that. And then I've worked in the industry in various positions, and I'm pretty well connected to some very large directors, people who have done $100 million plus movies. And so, I understand that kind of backside there. I've never shot it myself. Obviously, I'm 25, so I work in the indie space at the moment, but I do, understand that side. The main takeaway that I took from this movie, so, obviously everyone saw it on the docket, everyone knew it was coming out. the thing is, it's Nolan's movie, so kind of no matter what happens, like it's his. There's certain movies that are it's an A24 movie. There's
Yep.
certain movies where it's Zendaya's movie, like she's the one, she's the lead, and that's really anyone is going to talk about. For a movie with Nolan directing, it's a Nolan movie. There's really only maybe 3 directors like that. Spielberg, him, probably Spike Lee, but it's just so maybe Wes Anderson too. So maybe there's 4, but those 2 are because they're quite artsy in the grand scheme of
Oh
things.
yeah,
Everything
that's
else is
true.
probably going to
That's true.
involve other people. So the biggest takeaway for me was I thought that this was the Superman that I wanted to see in summer of 2025 from James
Oof.
Gunn that no one saw because James Gunn is really bad at managing a company. And instead we got it in the Odyssey, which isn't even really meant to be a superhero movie. But somehow when you're watching this guy get stabbed by like 300 suitors while he just beats the crap out of them in the end, like you literally want to cheer. Like you just like, which isn't even really what Homer intended for you to necessarily want to do, but is what you kind of find yourself doing. So, that was my biggest takeaway. It was the superhero movie that everyone wanted that no one ever got. And the humor of the whole thing is everyone's calling it woke and crazy when then it's like oddly this like super masculine, like
Yeah.
champion
Yeah.
ending. So I loved it. I thought it was great. I love Nolan. I love his work. I'm not shocked it's going to make $1 billion. I don't think you could put any amount of controversy behind any project of his and it wouldn't make money. I can't even imagine it. So, yeah.
I was going to say there was controversy, but it doesn't seem like it slowed anything down. I mean, there was like wasn't sure if that was going to have any effect, and it had no effect. This thing is just shot from a cannon, hasn't slowed down at all, and it's still going strong. Yeah, sorry, Frank, I didn't mean to cut you off though.
No, I felt like the controversy just added more fire to the fuel. I'm just thinking of the Joker, just like, just wanted to see the world burn. And like, it's just, I mean, I think we talked about it before we started. I think that's why Nolan went on the circuit a little bit more than he's done in his other movies. He still didn't talk about it and say, this is what I feel Odysseus was
Right.
doing, or this is what I feel Penelope was doing, because ever since the first movie or two, he's basically said, I'm not going to do that because I'm taking it away from the audience. But I agree with you. Like this, Justin and I talked about this last episode about how Odysseus is like the current everyman, right? And he is relating to our current culture. And so Homer, yes, wouldn't have intended Odysseus to be that superhero, but he still intended him to be the tale, the person of the story, right? And in this version, that's how it's told. And you're right. Nolan is Nolan. And so we're coming at it like he's already coming at it going, he's given us A movies and 95% of the things he's done. So I'm anticipating this was going to be good, and it lived up to that. How good? That's a debate, and we can do that, but it definitely lived up to what he can do.
100%. The one, to kind of dip into controversies, it's so funny that there's kind of, maybe there's like 10 major movie YouTubers, right? 2 million plus subscribers. A lot of them would say all these controversy pieces and they would almost always end because, this is my industry. I frequent watch them all the time. They would all say it's going to make $1 billion. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think anyone actually, even the people who thought it was super controversial, I don't think anyone thought it wasn't going to make money.
Yeah.
Because again, it just falls back to who is making it. And there are just certain directors that are, this is why the film industry even exists. There is no mechanism to invest $200 million and spit out $1 billion 2 years later. There's just not a mechanism for it except for film. And if you lose that money, it's a tax write-off for $200 million. And so if you made 5 other movies that also made several $1 billion, now you don't have to pay as much in taxes. So it's kind of a win-win as long as they don't all lose.
Yeah.
The one controversy for me that I was super worried about, and I actually think it did play a part in all honesty, was the book choice. There's certain books, obviously the translations that are trying to be
the translation that he went with.
Right, yeah, the
so
translation.
Emily Wilson's translation.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Because the older ones, the ones that are really intending to be, hey, this is what we think Homer meant. Like this is Homer's book. We're only trying to make it readable for you. That's all we're trying to do. We're really not trying to change anything. Whereas in hers, like, notably, and obviously everyone says the woke, whatever, that's fine. For me, it's more, she's openly said it's meant to be easier to read.
Yep.
It's meant to be more modern. And the second I hear that, I hear we're putting it in my translation instead of Homer's. And so you simplify things because audiences today don't want to hear that Shakespearean, who has come, like they don't want to hear that. And so I think that you lose a level of mysticness and like fantasy. I think you also lose like the intention of the characters originally. Because quite frankly, I don't think anyone's a better, obviously poet, because it's supposed to be a poem, but whatever, author than Homer, right? I think like it's really arrogant to be like, I am better. And I don't think that's what she's saying, but by choosing her translation versus one that's like, hey, we're just trying to be Homer. Like that's all we're trying to be. I think you do lose some of those more intricate parts that it's more of like a sadness of like, I would want to see the more pure, like, what did Homer envision and how do we interpret that instead of having this like lens. That was the only one that I adhered to at all.
I heard that too, and I mentioned this to we had two of our classical studies professors come in, and I would love to hear what our next guest is going to say because she's in that world too. I like her translations. I actually recommended it to one of our friends, Dave, who has been on this show too, because he's never read the Iliad or the Odyssey, and like he kind of needs a New Age translation. The one thing I would say for her that I really dug was the fact that she told you, I'm modernizing the words, but the words are keeping with the same meaning. I'm just giving you the emotion. So if I use a word that's New Age now, what emotion are you feeling? That's the same emotion that you should feel. So I think she did that well, but it's funny. Even she, because Nolan said, yes, I'm using hers. I loved her first lines. I read something, and we talked about this last week. She's like, yeah, it's a good movie, but he still did Odysseus wrong, like the way he interpreted Odysseus. So even her with like using the quote unquote modern lens is still going, yeah, Nolan still did Nolan, which is good for now, but it's not what Homer would have done. So it's everyone's doing that, no matter who it is, which by the way, she's probably making the most money out of all of them because it's her translation that he's saying he's using. So everyone's like, oh, Emily Wilson. I also think there's a little bit here, which I don't think we're doing it, but I do think people are subconsciously doing it because they're like, she's a woman. And there are not many women translators in the Homer or the Greek classics game. So I think that's also another part to it, but I can see what you're saying though.
I mean, the irony with that entire, controversy is that it's not like he actually sat down and put pen to paper all the way through, and we've got this like this is the original how it was, right? So it's it's like it could be any number of things could have been interpreted differently. And I know Frank and I both read multiple versions of this when we were in college. We had to from different translations. We've been through it, and that made me wonder because obviously Christopher Nolan picked this one. I'm just curious, and I know this is a hypothetical, so I don't expect anyone to have the answers. How many versions do we actually think he read cover to cover? Or do we think it was like a Google search to find the best versions and then go with this, and this? Or do we actually think he sat down and went through that many? I mean, it is a dense poem, especially depending on whose translation you're reading, to read it over and over and over again, just based on the translation. So I'm curious, Wes, if you were doing this and you were picking, I get it, but it's still a lot of translations.
Wes, you write yours too, right? Or you. So like he writes his own. So I figured he has to do a little research because he writes.
I didn't say he didn't do any. I'm just curious, Wes, if you were writing this and you were picking, how many different versions of the Odyssey would you have sat down and actually read cover to cover?
No, I mean, I wouldn't have read different translations. I would have read one translation. That would have been my choice. Now, he has openly said that he read more than one, that it wasn't technically based off of hers. That
it was just the first line. Like he loved the way she started hers.
That's exactly what he said. Yeah. So it was that first line. And then otherwise, he said it's kind of a homage polish. Now, the reason I wouldn't do that is because, again, for me, if I had a text that you said, okay, let's change this into a script, I would want the style, tone, and character arcs that are to be consistent and to grow in a certain way. And so even that first line, it's an oversimplification of what the original line is. Okay.
Right.
And that's fine. But so now you're working with, okay, we're using a simplified version. So I wouldn't want to go from that in the first book. It's 24. Not books. What does he call it? Not maybe it is books. Whatever.
Books, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you wouldn't want to do, that version simplified for book 1, but then book 2 be, no, we're going to use this super Greek one that's very, a lot of adjectives, and like you wouldn't want to do that. I don't think it's helpful for anyone. It's certainly not helpful for the actors. I would want the one with the most amount of description, the truest, and then, if you want to water it down because you're the director, I think that's relatively fine. It's this weird thing of like, how many people do we pass it down? And as you said, like, it's already kind of watered down, obviously. So like it's just like, how many hands can it go through? And the nice thing with it being Nolan is if it was any other director, maybe not any other director, but most other directors, it would have been watered down even worse because you would have had like a James Gunn, direct, whatever, head of DC come in and be like, well, actually, we want it this way. And then it would have got even worse. So thankfully it was Nolan. So presumably whatever he says, because his producer is his wife, she's not stepping in and saying no. So, luckily it was him who did the Odyssey. If it was anyone else, honestly, probably the Odyssey comes out and people get really disappointed. Yeah. So you got lucky.
Okay, let's talk about a little bit more just about some choices, right? We all saw it and saw it in sort of IMAX capacity. What do we think about that? I mean, we were kind of joking with, 3-minute shots and some of the actors thinking they suck because they didn't know it was 3-minute shots, but cutting it old school, doing the whole thing in IMAX. Is that a choice where you get excited about, or you just go, it's experience I got to see, like if you were seeing Avatar or something, you had to see in 3D or Tron. I mean, what's your take on that?
Yeah, this is not the artsy director answer anyone is looking for, but it's such a gimmick. I mean, listen, I'm 25. I was born completely digital. My first phone was an iPhone. I mean, I don't know what you want. Like, at some point, it just doesn't matter. And I think that a lot of these movies these days are losing a lot of money because they're burning money. Now, that doesn't matter for Nolan. That's fine. But like for me, I'd be posing if I said so. If anyone my age who says, "Oh, well, the film and you got to cut it by hand," they're just posing. It's someone who watched a movie from the '80s and they went, "Well, this is," it's the guy who walks around and listens exclusively to music that was made before he was born. Like, oh, I was born in a different generation. Like, no, you weren't. You were born in this generation. You grew up with an iPhone. You're on Instagram 8 hours a day. Most people my age. So, I'm not gonna BS. It's not who I am. So I think it's a gimmick. I think that's fine. It's super cool that people get that money and they get to do that. That's awesome. I think it's a little distracting for the actual actors. Obviously, if you get to spend $200 million on just talent, apparently, that doesn't matter because they're just going to be great no matter what. That's nice. But I don't know. I think it's gimmick. What do you think?
I liked your last point, the distraction for the actors. I like it because if I'm going to go to the movie theater, it is like I said, I don't watch. There's only a few, like you take 3D. There's only a few things that I'm saying you should do 3D for. Tron is beautiful. Avatar is beautiful. Everything else, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like this is something where I knew it was going to be a journey. I knew it was going to be epic. So I was like, okay, if you're shooting in IMAX, I'm going to go see it and I'm going to enjoy it. But do I need it? No, I want it, but I don't need it. But the acting part is the part. My brother and I were talking about this and he goes, yeah, that's going to be hard, man. Just 3-minute takes or less. And but you mentioned it though, because the actors were just amazing. So it's like you're working with the best of the best. So that can work. So I can see that working, but I can see it being, it's a one-off. You have to have all of the variables playing out, right? The director, the producer, cinematographer, the scenery, the actors, just everything being in sync for it to really gel. So I think it works. We didn't need it, but I watched it and go, thank you. But I could have watched it somewhere else and still enjoyed it, but it definitely added a flavor because everything was in sync.
I also think it's part of who Christopher Nolan is, right? So however you want, whatever word or adjective you want to use, it's the romantic side of the idea of film, right?
Yeah,
or it's the aura of Christopher Nolan. Like, I'm going to cut all of this. It's the same thing. I know you'll talk about it, Frank, but it's the same thing with like using CGI. It's just his style and it's what you expect to have. I don't know, because from a professional standpoint, I wouldn't know. But I'm like, I don't know if it was better, if it had been done differently, if I would have gotten anything different or lost something. Probably not, because I'm obviously not the one to notice that. I enjoyed it. I appreciated that he did it. I can respect that they did it. I think everything that you said was, 3-minute cuts. You got to stay in character. That's got to be incredibly difficult, but does have the talented cast. But I think it's gimmicky or not. I think it's part of his shtick and his aura. Yeah. And so I think it fits with Christopher Nolan, but I can't sit here and say, yeah, it made a huge difference because I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, on the first point, I think, Frank, there's only maybe 4 movies a year, usually in the summer, sometimes around Christmas, that are IMAX movie theater. You got to go, right? So it's like The Dunes, 007, whatever, Avatars. Like there's only so many. Star Wars before they completely slaughtered the entire franchise. There's only so many.
It's a whole other discussion. Don't even get me going.
But for me, I think the biggest thing they did in terms of getting the actors in the mindset is because they have so much money to burn, they're able to bring them to the place. They're able to have them in a place where no one else is. They can block off the entire planet from the location. If they want to have a thunderstorm, they're going to invent a thunderstorm. There's very little that those actors have to leave up to the imagination. And that is unbelievably helpful. Where you start to fall off is when you start having mirrors and one actor is looking straight into a mirror that goes to another mirror that then goes to another actor because they can't, the camera's so large, you literally can't stand next to it. That's when you really start hurting the talent. But again, listen, you spend enough money, you get Tom Holland's in there, you get the Zendayas in there, you get all these people, Matt Damon. Who cares? Like it's just going to be good.
They're going to do it.
The CGI versus practical stuff, that the more practical you can get, the more hands-on. You're 10xing the output right there. That's where money is well spent. Because the worst thing you can do is pay for that cast like Avenger does, and then literally
CGI
the entire thing is just green and blue.
Yeah.
And the props, they start having these props that are just like these giant foam things, and it's like doesn't look right at all. And then they have to act across from people who are like wearing these ridiculous costumes, but they have to be like horribly depressed. Like none of it meshes.
Justin, you mentioned it. That's where I totally agree with you, Wes. I think that is where if you have a director who's going to say, no, I just want all practical, because you watch the behind the scenes stuff, or you do some of that stuff and you just look at the CGI, you're like, how do you imagine that? Like your imagination is just killing it when you're doing CGI, Marvel, or big screen kind of stuff, because nothing is real. Like there is no spoof. Like everything is fake, right? So I do think, the practical effects that they do for all of his movies, I do think that just jacks it up to another level, because the actors can really emote. So that one I would say keep doing no matter what, because you can see it in his movies. You can see that, right? It works. But obviously, can you keep blowing up buildings like you did was it not the Joker, but what's it called? Dark Knight, right? Like, can you do those things? He can, but I don't know if they're practical for anyone else. But
what's amazing with that is when you look at how, I think the Avengers is a great example, but you look at how movies are done today for the most part and all of the CGI, and then you watch this and you have to sit and think and be like, there is no CGI whatsoever in this entire thing. And then you see how big and epic this movie is, and it's really, I think it's just an impressive feat in itself to have pulled that off and done it with just different camera angles and different, whether it's stunt doubles or different actors or different, however you want to do it. It's very impressive. I think it's really impressive.
Yeah. They are messing with frames, just to be clear. It's
not to the extent of what you had said with.
Right. It's as minimal as they can possibly get away with, which is very well liked. Anyone in the film industry would be, goo-goo over it. They absolutely love that kind of stuff. So, as do I. Yeah.
Well, leading us to a question here, because we've sort of like goshed about how it's a Nolan movie. It's Nolan. We may have answered this a little bit, but let's just really answer it. Could anyone else in our pantheon of great directors in current day, they have to be alive still today, could they have taken this on and done a similar, better job than what Chris just did?
I think yes. One of my favorite lines from an interview, and I can't remember. I think it was Samuel L. Jackson who said it. That could be wrong. He's the one who did Fences, right? I mean, a bunch of people did Fences. He was in
No, that was the main guy in Fences was Denzel.
Denzel. That's what I'm thinking of. Sorry. Yes, Denzel.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
Denzel, during the press for that movie, was asked like, "Oh, did the director have to be black?" And he gives a great answer. Now, the answer is a different reason. His was more, whatever racial was the undertone of the question. But his answer was, no, it's less about race. It's more about culture and it's about experience. And his example was, which is not even something that I personally understand, but like I understand like theoretically from watching the movie, is like what the smell of the hot comb is, right? When it goes through hair, right? Like I am white. I didn't grow up doing that. So I don't know what that smells like. And so it is an interesting cultural difference. I think that not every director, most of these big directors can do every other movie. I think there's just these experiences, these cultural differences, these backgrounds, these whatever that get you to that point that separates you. So it's not a question of like, could Spielberg do this? Yes, Spielberg has done some of the biggest movies ever. I think the only real question of like, could someone have done this better, which I think is the real question. My answer then is yes. And I actually go to someone who I think would have made very weird decisions, but because of that cultural piece, I would have been super interesting, would be Yorgos, who obviously now is like this Oscar-winning crazy guy. But originally he started with Dogtooth in his native language in Greek, which was like this little indie cult movie, which is horrifying and hilarious. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. But now he's obviously this massive director and he can do these big movies. And so being Greek, right, having that background, also the language, would he have made them speak in Greek, right? Like that would have been super interesting to me. And I think that cultural difference from someone who obviously is British, that I'd be really, really curious to see. And I again, would it be better? I have no idea. Would it be completely different? 100%. And I think that that's something I'd be really curious about.
Yeah. It's interesting. Okay. I can dig that choice. Justin?
I mean, Frank, I'm always going to say, could someone else have done it? Yes. That's the obvious. Like you always say, you ask me that question. Like, could someone, I'm like, yes. Would it have been as good? I don't know. Probably not quite to what I loved this movie for.
Yeah.
But could, Spielberg have done it? Yeah. Could Cameron have done it? Probably done something with it. Could, like.
That would have been CGI though. All CGI.
It would have been, but but there was nothing that said it couldn't be CGI. I'm just saying, could they have, but my answer is yes. Could someone else have done it? Yeah. I think that'd be really an interesting, I mean, that's a really interesting take when you're saying that is, I kind of now, this is so like way off topic, but like I was I'm putting this story in here because this is how I have to relate this. I was at a wine tasting and I was tasting these different wines and it was all Grenache and it was, shout out, I think it was Ocelli Vineyards out in Willamette Valley where I just was last weekend. And he goes, I make all the Grenache exactly the same way, but all the grapes come from a different part of the valley or from Washington or California. So then when you taste his Grenache, they're all made the exact same way. And you can he lets the fruit talk. And so he does it through this different way of doing it. And now that I had heard him say that, this winemaker say that, I'm kind of like, I know it'll never happen, but I would love to see like these great directors get together and be like, twilight of our career, let's do something where we all do our own take on some movie and we can all see how they all would have done it differently, as opposed to like some AI, like we could type that into AI. What would it look like? But I kind of would love to see some amazing directors do something like that where you get a side by side almost, and you're like, holy cow, this was completely taken differently than, how Christopher Nolan did it. And I would love to just see how that goes. And I know I'll never get it, but that sounds really interesting to me now that you brought that up, Wes. Like, I just think it'd be a cool way to just see how differently they could put something together that we all would look at and say, oh, the story this is the story, and this is how they all interpret it differently and represent it. It'd be pretty sweet.
100%. That would be really, really cool. I've heard of people doing these kind of things at like short film contests, but obviously not the Nolans and the Spielbergs of the world. So it would be super cool though to see people's versions of the same scene even would be very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even take that. Just like one section where everybody, I mean, a short film would be perfect too, right? Just, okay, here's the story you're all adapting. And it's, I don't know, Harold and the Purple Crayon or whatever that book is.
You pop again, you pop those like really artsy directors in there, Spike Lee in there, Wes Anderson in there, and all of a sudden
Oh
you
my
got
gosh.
Wes
How awesome would that be?
Wes Anderson, Odyssey.
It'd be so cool.
It'll be on mushrooms all day.
You turn around, the Cyclops is right there, perfectly centered, just like caught off guard. That'd be great.
It'd be amazing.
No, I don't. I honestly, I'm thinking hard, and I'm not creative today because I cannot see a full adaptation that hit the levels that I think this did from another director right now. Just because I'm looking at it through the lens of it was IMAX, it was not CGI, it was scene specific, just picking the actors. Obviously, yes, a lot of the directors can manage different actors, and these actors, by all sense of what we know from Hollywood gossip, are not difficult actors to work with, right? So it's like, but it's hard. I mean, I would love to see it.
Sorry, did you say they are or not?
Aren't. They're not difficult
I
to
didn't
work
hear,
with. Yeah, sorry.
I didn't hear the in there, and I was like, hold on, that is not what I heard.
Yeah. None of these guys or ladies I've heard are difficult to work with. But I would love to see a Quentin because I want that music. I just want that vibe. I'm like, yeah, let's just see what he does with that. But
that'd be a weird Odyssey.
That would be so
very
crazy,
strange
man.
Odyssey. Camera like a Michael Bay. A Michael Bay would be cool. Fly past, come back.
Yeah. No, it would be fun. It would be fun. All right. Quick hits, right? So we're just going to hit some topics from the movie and just get whether it's favorite scene, favorite line, favorite this, favorite that. So we can do it quickly. If we like that line or that scene, we can spend a little bit more time on it. But just sort of like getting our own journey, our own Odyssey through.
You keep saying journey, and I'm like, man, the joke is right there for you.
Yeah, I know.
Every
time I do it, I'm like, yeah, it's right there. I got it.
Just take the low hanging fruit while it's sitting there.
I know. Okay, let's complete our Odyssey. So, starting first quick hit, favorite shot.
Yeah, I mean, I would go with. I think that oddly the most interesting shot for me was more of a sound design thing, but kind of just all encompassing when Matt Damon, I was trying to think of the actual director, whatever. Matt Damon is tied to the staff, and then they're going through the water, and then he's hearing the music and he's wanting to go. But the beeswax mixed with like the water though, mixed with like the subtlest music, and then just seeing his performance. And it's one of those things where obviously most people want to pick something. Oh, it's a really shallow depth of field and we're really close up. And it's this weird angle. Like you want to go for these kind of weirder shots. And I get that. And like, yes, those shots are lovely. We love that kind of stuff. But the simplicity of just having the camera sit there, you only have 3 minutes to shoot. I am sure they let that thing run for 3 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Sure they did. It was not complex at all. But they took away all other senses from you and they just let his performance play. And I think that it really hits. I think it really works it does the least, but tells the most, which is why it's my favorite.
I like that. That's good.
I like that. I think it's a great example. And I didn't think about it from now that you're saying it, I can immediately hear it and have that sense that I felt when I was watching that scene. And so that came back to me pretty quickly when I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that one. Because mine is, and Frank, we might repeat because I think we talked about this, but I really loved the opening with the Trojan horse. And I know, and we talked about this last time. And Frank, I'll let you tell more about it.
No, you got it.
I know I'm not going to pick the nits that we picked when we talked about it last time. Was like just the scene of how they drag. I'm going to take this part, Frank, so you can take whatever else you wanted to say. When they dragged the horse in, I'm like, it was like they actually showed it being dragged over the sand, and they finally put it on logs, and they did all this. And it's like contrary to like a lot of other takes you see, suddenly I made the joke that it's like ready made and on wheels, and it's like conveniently for you to pull in, and it's like a child's toy that they use, and you're like, this just doesn't seem right. And this actually, of all the times that I've seen takes on the Odyssey or the bringing of the Trojan horse into Troy, was like the most like realistic, and I felt it kind of set the rest of the movie up for me because of that. So Frank, add what you were going to add, because I think you were going to add something else.
No, that's good. That's good. But I think for me, like too, it's just you just open, right? And you see the horse like half submerged in the sand, and then you see the waves about to overtake it. And it blanks your mind because you're like not even like you're thinking, yes, there's supposed to be people in that, right? And so I love how like desolate it looks. Like it's sort of like this is not a trap. This is a complete offering to the gods so that we can pass across the oceans, right? Like there's no way that this is anything but that. And then just the way it was set, and the horse is beautiful. Like Justin said, like we've seen the tailor-made ready horses, but in every other rendition, whether it's the miniseries, Troy, whatever, it just looks blah. But like this horse looks like really like it was well crafted, like really beautiful. So I just love that like juxtaposition with the first part of that scene.
Well, and you can actually believe that it was snuck in because it does not seem like it's a trap.
Like, how there, and then different, like obviously it goes past it where they're stabbing through, like that kind of thing. But if I had to pick another one, it's sort of halfway between favorite shot and favorite scene. But I just like the part where Matt Damon's character, which we didn't say it this time, but should have said it. There will be spoilers, so I think people are getting there. But again, there's a 3,000-year-old poem, so
if you haven't read it, it's on you at this point.
Yeah. But like towards the end, Matt Damon's character is disguised as an old man, an old beggar, and he's with the suitors, and they're all taking the test that Penelope set out, where they have to string the bow and then shoot it through the axes, and no one can string the bow. And then you just have Odysseus, like, and it's even more believable because he looks like an old man, he's bent over, but just the scene where he just stretches the bow, leans in, they're still laughing at him, and then he just clips it in, and just that visual. And then like you see him, he does a little thing where he hits the bowstring and it sings, and then it just zooms right into Rob Pat. Is it? I always get his name wrong. I say
Pattinson, my
Pattinson.
boy.
I always say Pattinson. Yeah, Pattinson. He just goes right to his face as he does the string, and he just has Odysseus right there. That is one of my best sort of like just it sings, pun intended.
There you go.
So yeah, that's my favorite there.
I was gonna ask. Sorry, you keep saying Matt Damon's character, and I'm like Odysseus. And we say so. I do I dare ask the question: is Matt Damon more famous than Odysseus? That we're using Matt Damon's character, saying Matt Damon instead of Odysseus.
Yes, he is. I think he's for the everyday man, he's more famous than Odysseus. Which question, 2-part, favorite character in the poem, favorite actor, actress in the poem. So someone could have acted really well, but they may not be your favorite character in the poem, or they could be the same. So it's 2-part or 1-part.
I think that she wasn't the best character, but I think she was the best actress, not main actress, not a lead. She was very much a side character, but Circe's, her scene is extremely intentional and beautifully shot and very disturbing all at the same time.
So Samantha Morton,
if that's her name, sure. Yeah. I honestly didn't know her name, so that's good. Samantha. So she, really, really phenomenal. Obviously, she's also relatively famous, not famous enough for me to know her name apparently, but famous enough. I recognize her face.
She plays crazy really well, man. She does it really good.
She plays. But genuinely horrifying and beautiful at the same time.
Yes.
Very innocent. The first time you meet her, obviously she's terrified, and you feel that sense of fear. That's the sad thing of it being such a well-known book is you obviously know what's about to happen. But even for a second there, I was like I felt sincerely scared, but sad for her. And I was like, oh wait, it's not a good person. So yeah, I think she stole the show for a good 20 minutes there for me.
How that was not done with CGI, like just that whole scene
with the turning them into pigs.
Yes, amazing.
Just real pigs, right? Just real pigs.
Yeah, I saw an interview with Anne Hathaway, and she said that, and she even said, I think that might have been the most impressive scene in her opinion, just because of how hard that is to do, and really, really thought about that. Yeah, that scene.
Yeah.
That whole
Keep what's the show? The Walking Dead with her when she's
Right.
she good. I like that. I will go with the quintessential just because I felt I have to defend my man Odysseus. So
Hey,
I'm picking Odysseus,
Matt Damon's Odysseus.
Matt Damon's Odysseus, because the dude got so much for everyone's like, why him? Why him? And I'm like, seriously? Like, why not? Why not? And, I thought Justin and I talked about this 97% of Odysseus and 95% of this movie I was on board with. The ending, a little too different for me, just a little, but Odysseus, the character, the journey, the man, it told a good story. So he was there. And I'm going to pick Tom Holland, because I went a little dirty with him last week because his character kind of dipped for me, but Tom Holland did a great job. I think he keeps surprising me with anything he does besides Spider-Man. So,
Yeah, both great picks, but you know where I'm going.
I know where you're going.
I'm going to Antinous, so Robert Pattinson, and I thought, holy smokes! You know how I said it last week? He might be my current man crush as an actor. I thought he was awesome. He played that part so well, and I was just so impressed with him. And that's like, it's Tom Holland said, he's a dickhead, and he's like, oh yeah, well, once I knew who it was going to be, I was like, oh, this will be easy. He's going to be great at that.
Yeah.
And which is amazing that I left liking like just the job that he did at this role and how well he played it, and acknowledging that he played it so incredibly well, even though it's a character you're supposed to hate and you do hate, that I have to give like all props to that, because it's like, you hate this guy, but he did such a good job playing that role. I'm just like blown away still. I'll keep saying it. I'm going to keep beating that drum over and over and over again.
Didn't
That's-
Softy play the Lord character who I can't think of the name of, but the director Softy, didn't he play the guy with the helmet? Which I think is just crazy that he's like this big time director.
Yes. So apparently, has he made the most money acting this year as far as male
he has.
actors?
Yeah, but only no, because he's in
What's the other one?
Baby Bowser.
Yeah.
He's Baby Bowser. Agamemnon. I can't.
Agamemnon. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so that's Benny Softy. That's absolutely hilarious.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah.
That is. I also love all the memes that have been out that are like, people are like, you knew the story, and one of the criticism is Agamemnon didn't have nearly enough. Like, what's going on? He didn't have a big enough role, and like that's been some of the feedback from some people.
What are you talking about?
And those are the comments, and they're like, "There's a whole other story about that. You can go read it.
Go to the other poem if you want that.
That is crazy. His shots were all felt very intense, and they were. I mean, obviously intentionally, but they were really. It left a lasting impression for someone who, I don't know how much screen time he had, but might not even been over 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was pretty, I thought his shots were pretty awesome.
Yeah. Nice. Well, Justin and I got a chance to do this last week. You did not. So it'll be before we hit the last section, we like to grade. We want to give you the chance to grade the movie. We do letter grades. So anything from a big old steaming F to classical A all the way. C is our average marker. And so
for this movie,
we grade a little bit harder.
No. So the way we grade is a C is just, it's an average movie. It's like, it's not good. It's not bad. It's just, you're like, okay, I saw this movie. I got through. It wasn't like I barely got through this movie, or man, this was awesome. C is just like your average movie grade. Like a B is a very, very good movie. Right. Yeah. And an A is like top tier. You loved it.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm going to give an answer people don't like at all.
Awesome.
It's definitely not an A. I think that part of being one of those movies is that you being an A is someone is going to want to go watch that again in 3 years, and it's not going to leave the conversation. And not only that, when it hits 10 years, it might be back in theaters and we might be talking about it again just because it's been 10 years.
Mhm.
I don't see this movie doing that. I think it's too long. I think it's pretty pretentious, to be honest with you, in a way that I'm pretty pretentious. So I kind of enjoy, but I think that is, well, I think it could have been more pretentious because they should have been using a translation that was more pretentious in the language, but they didn't. That's okay. But I think it should have leaned into it. The problem is that it leaned away from it while still being it. And I think that it lands in this middle ground that disenfranchises people who are really into the history, really into the look of things. Oh, that ship doesn't look right historically. Oh, that so you piss those people off, but then it's too pretentious to the people who don't want any of that. So I don't know. I'll give it a B. Okay. I loved it.
And you can give it a partial grade if you like a B minus, B plus. We welcome all that too.
No, I think he's on that
B.
It a
E. That's fine. I think he's on that B. I just want to make sure he knew.
Now, can I ask you a question though? This is now me pushing because I gave it a different grade or anything like that. No. This is a serious question.
I'm not selling anything.
No. This is a honest to God serious question because you made a good point. But then Justin and I both agreed last week, this is not a movie that I'm going to be coming back to and again, just oh, it's on popcorn. Let's go. But in that A category, I have a ton of movies that I never want to watch again, aka Schindler's List. It is an amazing movie. I cannot watch that again. Maybe 30 years, but so is it? Do you have that same vibe with some of those movies, or you can if you put that movie in an A, you can definitely watch it again over and over again?
I've seen Schindler's List maybe 5 times. And that would be not a lot of times for me.
Yeah.
I've seen Vertigo, which I also consider to be a top, whatever movie, probably 20 something times. So I don't know. I think that there's a cultural there's a cultural mark that you leave that isn't relevant just now, but lasts over time and evolves over time. So a very good example here is Clerks. Clerks 2 is a terrible movie. Clerk 1 is a great movie. And Clerk 1 was not in the cultural zeitgeist for however many years it was, but now very much is and will continue to be until Earth explodes. So, I think there's that film might not have mattered when it came out, and that's fine. So just because a movie comes out and it's received well doesn't really matter to me in terms of is it an A, is it a B, is it a C?
Yeah.
It's more of a matter of, hey, is this going to change culture? Is this going to change how we view things? Is this how and I do not see that being true in the same capacity that, quite frankly, several other of his movies have done. And kind of crazily, maybe his most is the Batmans, which, to this day are probably the most watched Batmans because the rest of them kind of suck. So, I don't know.
Comparatively,
That's fair. Yes.
I will say we both gave it A's. However, we gave it with an asterisk. Yeah. We did give it with an asterisk, which was one, we acknowledge our bias that we're both classical studies majors. And so anything that falls in this realm we're going to love.
Mm-hmm.
The other was we're came off of a high of it. We recorded the episode 2 days after. And then also I said, I'm reserving the right because I would like to watch it again.
Yeah.
So I get all that emotion that I was super excited to see it out. And now I'm going to watch it a second time. And I could see now that it's been a couple weeks or whatever it's been, and then going to watch it a second time and being okay, I'm able to step back a little bit from my excitement of us talking about this all summer and see it a little bit more for what it is. And I could see my grade. Obviously it can't go up, but I could see my grade shifting slightly, but I do need to see it again. It could go up, but I did make it clear, which Wes, love or hate me for these next movies, but I was it wasn't the Lord of the Rings for me. And I loved the Lord of the Rings, and I will rewatch that over and over and over again. So
culturally far more significant movies.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. And it always will be. I think I'm going to, mine is probably still going to be an AA minus. If you don't have the context or the background, it's either going to be a B plus, and I stick by B plus, or you might drop your different further if you do have the context for some of the reasons, Wes, you mentioned, where you're like, you failed at some of the things that I'm like really nitpicky about. I tend to care less for that a little bit just because it is a fictional poem, and less so like if this was like, let's take it like Augustus or Julius Caesar or some, like where you actually have historical notes. But I do acknowledge that that's a thing. But so I think like for myself and for folks who feel that journey, I think it's going to be a little bit higher. But I think because the movie is a journey, I still think it's going to be in that, I think, a high B range for folks.
Can I say this? So you just reminded me. So something I wanted to mention. The biggest mess up in my mind by far. So what bugged me? Okay, they took out the whole nobody scene with the cycle, which is the most, in my view, most.
He said he couldn't fit it in, and I don't understand that. But he said he couldn't fit it in.
The most, like,
I agree.
I don't care. You might not have paid any attention to like 11th grade English class. You likely remembered the nobody. I'm horribly dyslexic. I barely can read. Okay. I remember the nobody scene to this day very vividly. Yeah. And the idea that we don't even make any even reference to it. We don't even reference it. There's not even like a little nod where he says something like no, just completely skipped it. That bugged the absolute crap out of me.
I agree with that.
That's in there too. I'm gonna
they don't
put that.
It's also a sign. That scene is also an example of how clever Odysseus was. Like, he's supposed to be clever. He's supposed to have that. And they kind of took that out of
who he
Matt
was.
Damon's Odysseus. They kind of removed that cleverness and made it more,
which is what a lot of people had gripes about, right? Like a lot of the classicists, a lot of the folks, because that's
great scene. Yeah, I think it's a great scene. The fact, I do agree with you. The fact that it wasn't in there, I love that nobody story. I think it's clever, and I think it shows Frank's choice of words, how cheeky he can be.
He is cheeky. He's a cheeky man. All right, I want to do this real quick because I want to make sure we get it in.
Okay,
but knowing where you are with the B, I'm going to go backwards a little bit more. I wasn't going to go this far back, but I want to go backwards. Chris Nolan, does this make his top 8?
Oh, you were going to say like top 3.
I was going to say like top 5, top 3, but I'm going to say top 8. Top 8. I mean, there's been, was it 10 or 9 movies? 10? I can't remember.
Odyssey, Oppenheimer, Dark Knight, Interstellar, Inception, Dunkirk.
It's definitely going to make his top 8. I mean, I'm looking at them now.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to give you. I was trying to give you a list.
Yeah,
this is better than The Prestige. This is better than Dunkirk.
Okay, it's top 8
better than Insomnia.
Okay, well, definitely.
This is better than Following. That people aren't going to like that. This is better than Following. Oh, this is definitely better than Tenet, which is his worst. Tenet's terrible.
You think Tenet's the worst, really?
Tenet is you can't even understand what's being said for the whole time. Yeah, I mean, this is not better than Dark Knight, Memento, Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins, Interstellar. This is with Oppenheimer.
You said it's better or worse than Oppenheimer?
But it's top 8, but it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's not top 5.
I'm in the top 5 to 6 right in my right now, and I need to see it again to see whether it stays or drops or increases. But I just like it can't be better than Inception for me. I think that movie is just it blows my mind. Like I said, that first Batman, like it's just the way it was done, and then obviously like the second one and then Interstellar. I'm like it was beautiful. I'm not 100% sure if like the dialogue for me still sings, but it's beautiful. So it's kind of in that same tier. Oppenheimer, I'm not as high as it is as a lot of people, but I do think it's a well done movie. So I'm in the top 5 or 6. I can't change. I can't shake where I'm at right now. Justin, what about you?
I think I'm probably in the same ballpark as you are. Both the first 2 Batmans. Oppenheimer. I really liked Oppenheimer. I thought it was really good. So I mean, it's in that ballpark. But I mean, what's ridiculous is that this is the conversation we're having because those movies are all amazingly well done.
Well, they're
movies.
all A's for me. So that's like I can't. Yeah.
The only thing I would add in there, Frank, is if you're thirsty for another Batman, Robert Pattinson has one.
Dude, his is. I said there's been 4 to 5. I honestly,
I'm just tossing it back. I'm bringing it back to my boy.
When I heard he was Batman, I was so pissed. I was really pissed. I was like, no, I don't want this. I don't want this vampire to be Batman. I don't want that. But dude,
Crushed it.
Yeah, he's awesome as
You
it.
did a great job. You did a great job.
Well, see, I brought that full circle.
I like it.
I had to
I
bring
like
back
it.
there.
I like it.
I'm just going to add this on. It was 4 minutes and 12 seconds. That's how much screen time Agamemnon had in the Odyssey.
That's crazy.
That
The
is
amount of
crazy.
characters they had that had about 4 minutes of screen
Yes.
time
Yeah.
is really crazy.
Yeah. Nice.
Unreal.
Nice.
Love it. Why not?
Nice.
But no time
Awesome.
for nobody, you know?
No,
God
Yeah,
damn
yeah.
it.
yeah.
So,
Well-
perfect. You got any others, Frank?
That's it. That's all I got.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, we
Wes, I
it.
appreciate you. I appreciate you joining us again, as always.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is a good movie to chat about. You know, most movies these days are not even worth a conversation, sadly. So at least Nolan tips his hat on put something out there worth discussing. So
Exactly.
yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
No worries. Well, how can people follow you if they want to catch you in some other venue?
Yeah, YouTube's usually the best. A Wes Clark Film at A Wes Clark Film, which is on YouTube. But yeah, my movie How to Start a Cult's on Amazon, and then my second movie, The Psychic Files, is going to come out on Tubi, Amazon, yada 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 yada, in August. So like late August.
We'll be excited to catch that one as well. But yeah, like Justin said, thank you so much for those who joined us, whether it was visual or audio. We appreciate you. It really does help. You can continue to follow, like us, subscribe, whichever works for you. You can follow us at The Fiction Podcast, wherever you catch that venue, or also email us at thefictionpodcast@gmail.com. So thank you. We will come back next week. Will be our last ride with the Odyssey, and we're going to hit a little bit harder with Homer's epic and talk about that and see how, Matt Damon and the rest stood up to what a classical study expert, I guess, is the easiest way to say it, would say in that field. So not us. We're just like what are we? Like,
Has-beens.
yeah. Never were. Is that?
Has-beens.
Yeah, that's good.
We used to know our hold our own
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Awesome. Can't
All
wait.
right. Well, thanks everyone. Cheers.